Thank you. My name is Butera John Rober Mugabe. I'm the chairperson or the chairman of Sun Alliance. That's Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance Rwanda.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
So we are together to reflect a little bit on the activities we have been conducting so far to prepare this Learning Route International Exchange in Rwanda. And so I would like to reflect with you since the beginning, the first time we started working together and we catch up and all the steps we've been doing together so far after 3-4 months. If you think at all these activities have been conducting together, which has been your role in this?
Well, I think basically I've played a number of roles. But basically I've played, the most significant one is providing oversight of the entire process. And I've also contributed to the write-ups of from the concept that we submitted when we are applying to host the learning route. From then, all the documents that were shared by Cecilia, we tried to provide inputs, especially concerning the country, the alliance, how to engage the communities, how to select the champions. And I think I've really provided different inputs as well in terms of the budgeting concept, the budgeting, the planning of the entire event. I think I've really played different responsibilities as the chairperson, because I take, all in all, I take responsibility for whatever happens.
Perfect, thank you. So, very briefly, if you think back on all the things we did so far, what are, can you tell me at least 3, 4, 5 changes, positive, negative changes you observed about your involvement also, but also your colleagues, and what did you perceive as changes as a result of all this mobilization and reflections?
I think one thing is building momentum or increased momentum from our members. I think people are very much motivated. They are very happy to be part of the Sun Alliance. They are very enthusiastic, very active. I think this has really strengthened our togetherness, has strengthened the ownership, has strengthened acceptability of the alliance. So we think it has really been an invaluable process, and we regret not. And the other thing is the alliance itself, because the staff are now equipped, they are retooled. It's kind of a training that we lacked previously. Probably it's our first time participating into this whole process of the learning route, and we think as staff being involved, I think we've picked lots of lessons, how to, from the methodological view, we have really appreciated the entire process, and we think we also share similar trainings and the knowledge with other members that have not had a chance to participate, because we are very many and not everyone would be brought on board. So we hope the few of us that have had an opportunity and privilege to be part, we hope will transmit the same knowledge to other members. Of course, we hope to do our very own local learning routes. So that's on the internal components. On the other hand, is I think more visibility is something that has really happened. We've had visibility across different sectors, from the national level to the district levels, because we are engaging both national and local levels about the entire process. And that to us has really, because we've been exchanging and sharing this information with different government officials, we think is something that has really put us on another level, because initially not everyone got to know what Sun Alliance is, but now you realize that everyone is very motivated to be part of the alliance, and it's also activating other stakeholders like the private sector to establish their very own. On the other hand, is I think we've also seen there are so many good practices that even us ourselves didn't necessarily consider to be some of so important. So we just discovered that, I think these are very good lessons we can pick out of the cases that were selected. I think this would bring other people, because we'll have to share on every case. It's not happening in every district. So for those that for those that have such cases, are going to be a model to other districts. And I think it's the same thing that we replicate in other districts. So it has given us.
And you already started, no?
Yeah, we already started. Yeah, and we think it's an eye opener. We've had these cases happen, and we believe we can replicate similar activities though we've done it anyway, not at a big scale, but we hope to scale up some of this.
Okay.
On the other notes, is I think it has also strengthened bringing together everyone. Building the teamwork to as something that has happened during this process. Everyone, taking on. You tell this person. Everyone is a self-starter, and of course it was there. But I think this has been an added value to what has been existing. So to me, the 5 things that I consider very key and pertinent are those.
Wonderful. Actually, I know that 7.
You know that 7.
Even more.
Yeah, even more, because I
so many, no?
So many. On the challenges, of course, like you realize, for every activity that in the entire process, you realize there's so many challenges. I won't necessarily call them the negatives, like you say, because a challenge might not necessarily be a negative thing, but there's so many challenges, and like even governments have challenges, even individuals, that there's so many challenges. One is, of course, we told you, limited staff, and we need to have more staff, of course, limited resources.
What is that having limited staff or resources bring in? What is like the challenge? Like, I don't know, the stress, or I don't know, what is the limitation or effective? What can you touch with hands?
Yeah.
The evidence that is an issue.
It is an issue because it affects the way we work. It doesn't give us that feeling of the life balance, especially when you overwork. Responsibilities that are supposed to be done by 4 to 5 people is almost taken on by one single individual, and you realize we put the life of such an individual at risk. So you've seen so many cases when people are saying, I'm stressed, I'm this, and you realize really you can feel it, you can see it. Again, on the issue of the budgets, if people work and they're not necessarily, you don't have a pay for their services at some point, it's something that really affects their lives. They have families to feed. I think it's something we cannot ignore as a challenge. I think those are the major issues that we see as an alliance. On the other hand, probably would be some organizations, especially the private sector, not taking on the same model like we think, because we envision that every UN donor and government, civil society, we hope if there could be this coordinating responsibilities, people taking on such responsibility to do I think that would ease our work. But you realize if we have it in the civil society and the private sector is not, other people still have to question why. And you just feel it. And when you present it, people say, no, but we've been existing even. You realize what you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So those are the few things that I would.
I think there are many, but so let me just re-synthesize all these elements and tell me if I'm correct or I misread something, and then maybe when I finish, just tell me among all those which for you is the most significant one. So you highlighted the building momentum with the alliance member, building the momentum, strengthening this cohesion among the alliance member, and also another element you highlighted is strengthening the acceptability and the engagement of the alliance member in all the entire process. Also equipping the alliance staff with methodological approach to probably not using learning and cross-sharing. So this technique you highlighted, emphasized on the gaining of invisibility at national and both district level through the many activities you've been conducting, because you said you engage them during all this process and you use this process to create your visibility. And this change that this involvement led you to perceive that you have been activating stakeholders. So they are, for example, you mentioned the private sectors they have been stimulated, and there is now some more concrete discussion on how to gather together as a private sector. Then you also told me that you discovered about these case studies let you think about the lessons learned, so new ideas for you, and then you've been using them to share and as a champion, as a model for other organization or district that they might not have had some similar successes. Then you mentioned the teamwork, so the capacity in sharing roles, responsibility, but also you highlighted the difficulties of the, let's say, overload due to the limited staff, and so that it can create unbalanced life, stress, quality in the work, because there is simply too much on your plate. And then finally the incentive, the budget, so people are working sometimes too much and don't feel rewarded enough. So among those different changes that you highlighted, which is for you the most significant one?
Well,
if you have to just pick one.
They're really equally important to me.
Yes.
I'm not pretty sure whether it would be easy for me to pick the most significant one, but
anyhow, you listed everything, so
I think the most significant one is building momentum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because you realize that everyone today, you go to the ministry and everyone is talking about the alliance. You go to the civil society, you say, oh yeah, I've heard of Sun Alliance. I think they're doing a great job. It's very tremendous. You go to, you now ask everyone, you feel, yeah, they are really proud to belong to the alliance. So to me, I think it's all about the momentum that has been built because of this. You know, hosting 11 countries, people are very excited about it, and they just feel, I think, yeah, these guys are doing a great job. Of course, we've been doing this, engaging different, but I think bringing in external participants to pick lessons, I think that to me has really done us a big job in building, because people have now taken it up.
Tell me briefly, how did you, because you had a very innovative way to build this momentum, in a very participatory way. So can you tell us how did we all work together to build that momentum? So because there's been many different strategies in doing that.
Well, there's so many strategies. One is, of course, reaching out to the right people. We've knocked to the doors, people's offices, and telling them there's something that is going to happen, and the person doing this, behind this, is Sun Alliance. And I think reaching out to different people, explaining what Sun Alliance, I think people have really picked interest to know what really it does, and probably owning the objectives and mission of the alliance. The other is picking out the people, the representatives or the champions to tell our story, represent cases that they think are good for people to learn from, and again to share this same to others. On the other note is I think to me those are the key issues. Reaching out to the people and the right people and telling them what is happening. Of course, we've been to whether donors, we've been there, to government, we've been there, to the civil society, we've been there. So everyone now gets to know. And the other thing that really envelopes the entire those key items is the learning route. Mm-hmm. So the learning route, having come to Rwanda or being hosted in Rwanda, is an added value, and that actually, to me, has built more momentum than the activities we've been undertaking. It's something it is usual, but I think we did it in an unusual way because it was the first one of the kind in Rwanda, and to us, we just feel it's something we cannot exonerate from the momentum now in Rwanda.
Wonderful. Okay, so thank you. We are at the end of this interview, and I would like to ask you if this most significant change that you just told us should be represented in a story in TV, what title would you give it? What title would you give to this change or this?
I would say it's a very difficult one. Not selecting a title. I would think. Let me think for a while.
If you want, I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've been talking about building momentum within inside and outside.
Yeah.
So you have been really exploiting every single element of this learning road.
I would say together we can. I would just say together we can.
Good. Thank you. Deal. Done.